Mr. Champagne, how confident are you you'll get the votes to pass your budget?
Well, you know, I was on the road and Canadian wants to see this budget going forward. I mean, trust me, come in the airport with me, people were stopping me around the line, say, go, we need this budget to go forward because, you know, it's an investment budget, but it's a budget made for Canadians. And that's what I would invite any member of the opposition, go in the street, talk to people, and you'll see what they tell you. They said, listen, we see the critical investment in infrastructure. We've seen the investment you're going to do in housing, in productivity. I was just with a group of young people this morning. They are hopeful for Canada, and I'm confident in Canada. So I think this is a vote for Canadians. You know, I would say.
What does it tell you about the Conservatives waiting so long to table their amendment? They have now a sub-amendment.
They have a lot of soul searching to do because if you go in the street like I did and talk to people, they tell you they saw that budget, they understand we face some headwind, they understand that we have the fiscal capacity, they understand that these are generational investments that are needed to put our country forward, and they're grateful that, you know, at the same time we're spending less, we keep investing in our nation and our future, because it's the future of our kids, our grandkids that we're talking about. So I would say for those who have to make that vote today, they should reflect. Do a bit soul searching.
Why are you cutting the study permits by so dramatically? We haven't got an explanation. Why? Why the big change?
Well, what we're doing first is to bring back the immigration level to something which is more sustainable, because I think we have realized and Canadians have realized that, you know, if you welcome people in our country, they need to be able to find a home. They need to be able to certainly send their kids to school, go to the hospital if they need to. So we needed to bring back the level to more sustainable level. But at the same time, we're doing a record investment, more than $1 billion, to attract the best and brightest mind in the world to come here, work in our research center, be in our universities, and grow the economy. So you'd appreciate it. I have to go to the question period. But I'll see you in a minute.
Le budget, est-ce que vous êtes plus confiant aujourd'hui qu'hier, qu'il va passer votre budget?
Ben écoutez, j'ai passé 2 jours sur la route à rencontrer les gens, puis les gens ont un message clair. Ils disent qu'il faut que ce budget-là soit adopté. Pourquoi? Parce que c'est un budget qui est un budget d'investissement, c'est un budget qui est pour les Canadiens et les Canadiennes. Les gens ont vu les investissements générationnels en infrastructure, certainement aussi quand on parle de l'habitation, quand on parle de la productivité. Alors, j'étais avec des jeunes ce matin, puis ils me disaient, écoutez, nous, et on veut que ça avance, on a des choses importantes à faire pour le pays. Moi, je suis confiant, j'ai confiance dans le Canada, puis je pense qu'aujourd'hui, ce vote-là va donner confiance dans le Canada, aux Canadiens, aux jeunes qui nous regardent en particulier. Donc, je pense que les partis d'opposition doivent vraiment se poser la question aujourd'hui de dire, écoutez, face à ce qu'on vit présentement, le vent de face qu'on a, on a la capacité fiscale, on a fait des choix judicieux, on va dépenser moins, investir plus, puis je pense que ceux qui vont voter aujourd'hui, je pense qu'ils devraient penser aux jeunes de ce pays-là qui disent, nous, on a besoin d'avancer. Merci, merci. I'll see you later. I just have to go to...
Casey, good to see you. Do you think you can win the confidence vote and keep the government alive or have it fall?
Oh, I think we're going to win it. I think in spite of all the posturing that's happening in front of you, that people recognize deep down that they will be punished for forcing a Christmas election. They won't admit it to you, but I have absolutely no doubt that's what they're hearing. So I think it'll happen. I don't know how it'll happen, but I do think it'll happen.
What do you make of
I haven't even looked at renting a campaign headquarters.
Pound in stakes in Charlottetown in December? Is that the ground still work then?
Some Decembers, not all.
Have you talked to
sorry,
Mr. Poilievre of forgetting to table an amendment?
Mr. Poilievre had a rough day yesterday. It's understandable that his heart and mind wasn't completely in it.
Have you talked to any Conservative MPs about crossing the floor? Do you think others will cross?
I have no idea. You've heard more rumors than me. I know they're out there. I have no sense of their validity, none whatsoever.
Any thoughts on the ostrich cull? The Supreme Court decided to go through with the call or dismiss the appeal. What does it mean for trade and the safety of flocks within Canada and our agri-food industry?
I haven't followed it close enough, except to say this: I wouldn't want to be Heath MacDonald. This can't be fun.
Just because of the reaction.
So my heart goes out to him.
Generated?
There's significant public interest in this. It's incredibly difficult, and I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Yeah.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
The government, they don't want to support your vote today on confidence. What do you think?
Well, we've been pretty clear about that we can't support this budget, and what other parties decide to do is what other parties decide to do.
Thank you. confidence vote, or is the government going to fall, or is the government going to live?
vote
What do you
today?
think? Yeah.
Yes,
The
on the vote
Conservative
today.
amendment?
Yeah.
Well, we're not supporting it.
What about
We'll be
tomorrow?
voting
What
against
about
the
the
Conservative.
block one?
We're still studying that motion, but the one today we're definitely voting against.
What
I
in
mean,
the-
it would cause, the Conservatives want, massive cuts to public spending. That's exactly the opposite direction that New Democrats think we need to go in, which is investing in Canadian economy at this point. So there's absolutely no way we're going to support the Conservative motion today.
So all 7 of your members vote against the Conservative motion, but in the NDP or in the Bloc motion, increases to health care and pension supports. Do you guys support that? Will you vote for it?
Well, we're still studying that motion as well. So,
What do you object to it? Is there anything in there objectionable?
Well, we're still debating that in our caucus, but we're taking them one motion at a time. It's interesting that the Conservatives were asleep at the switch and allowed the Bloc to get the amendment in before they did. I think that speaks to the disarray in the Conservative Party right now. But we had a discussion about the vote today, and we decided we're going to vote no, and we'll have a discussion tomorrow about the Bloc motion after we discuss.
Everybody's showing up today to vote?
Everybody
Are you
will show
worried
up.
about the government falling?
Well, that's always a concern. I mean, that's the implication of any vote, but that's not our prime consideration. We analyze the motion on its merits, and the Conservative motion is it's a Ronald Reagan, Maggie Thatcher, rip government to shreds motion. Calling for a $42 billion deficit when it's $78 billion, that means there's $36 billion of additional cuts that they would want to see out of this government. Can you imagine what that would do to services and Canadians across this country? So we're voting against the Conservative motion because it's absolutely irresponsible. It's extremely right-wing, and it's not the direction that our country should be going in our view.
And because you're a
What about the
BC,
budget? Have you made?
We're still weighing that.
because you're a BC MP, do you have any thoughts on the Supreme Court dismissing the appeal from Universal Ostrich Farms and the ostriches are going ahead to be culled?
No, I have no view. I haven't read the decision, so I
Okay.
don't have any view on
Thanks.
that. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for that clarity.
Is that how you're going to make up your mind ultimately? You're going to
Well,
wait to
I'm
see
certainly
what
going to have
people-
conversations with our caucus. We don't make decisions without, talking, communicating with each other. But the first step is going home to Vancouver Island and listening to Vancouver Islanders and hearing from stakeholders, of course, and what they're seeing in the budget and what they're not seeing in the budget, and certainly, things that people, want to see changed. So, that's going to be what we're going to do right now is head home and get the feedback from Canadians. But I know certainly Canadians don't want an election. But, what we're hearing is a lot of people that are dissatisfied with what the government put forward. And they said it was going to be a transformational budget. We haven't seen that. Certainly it was a budget targeted for business and big business. And right now people are struggling. They missed the boat in relieving the pressure on people right now that are struggling to make ends meet. They didn't deliver any of the supports that people have been calling for. And what we're seeing right now is big corporations posting record profits, and people are having a tough time, making ends meet, and they're getting, bled dry at the till, at the pump, and they're trying to access the internet or pay their rent or their mortgage. And so things have to change. And, that's what I think they're going to hear too.
You're voting against the Conservative amendment, though, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to
Why
speak
is
about how I'm
that?
going to vote until I vote.
Oh, sorry.
That's
okay.
coming up. So
what's your thought on the amendment?
I think literally, we don't agree with the Conservatives and their philosophy, and certainly, we see the Conservatives more turning into what was the Reform Party of the past, and we're seeing the Liberal Party, becoming more like the Progressive Conservative Party that they're demonstrating that they are. And there's no surprise when we see Chris D'Entremont, a really good guy, but he's a Progressive Conservative, cross over, and it wasn't, I don't think, a far stretch or jump for him, to land at a party that I think reflects his values as well.
Do you anticipate that the NDP is going to vote all as one, or you guys, some people?
I think that's a conversation we're going to have right now. We're going to go home to our ridings and listen to the people in our community.
Gord, are you still open to abstaining though on the budget?
Right now, what I'm doing is I'm going to listen to the people in my community, and I'm going to come back to caucus, and we're going to have a really good conversation. We've had some really good conversations today, and certainly going to continue to work with the team that we have and make sure we bring forward progressive values. And look, I just came from the House of Commons. It feels like a corporate boardroom right now. And people need us right now. They need to ensure that they have a seat at the table, and we're going to make sure they do. And that's
If
what
I'm
they're
not
gonna hear
mistaken, there was something in that budget that you'd been advocating for
Oh, there's
some
a couple
time,
things. Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I mean, we've been calling for a national aerial firefighting fleet to support provinces and territories. We know the impact that has on our economy, on our human health, on the ecology, the environment, and especially impacts Indigenous peoples, because it's rural primarily, where wildfires are raging across our country like we've never seen before. So, we're really happy to see that in the budget, an initial investment of $256 million for an aerial firefighting fleet, and also a biomass tax credit. So for the forest sector, which is obviously under immense duress. So that will help, support clean energy. And
how
also,
do you balance that though? Like, how do you balance?
Yeah, so that's
those
are the
against...
exact conversations that we have to have. We have to go home to our communities, listen to our constituents, meet with stakeholders. Our job is always to be propositional. That's what New Democrats do. We try to bring good ideas to government. We're going to continue to do that, and that's what people can count on us to do. And so, go home, listen to people in our communities, come back as a caucus. But when we look at overall, the health of our communities and support for people right across the country, they missed the boat. They failed to address the cost of living. There's very critical needs that people have, and we're seeing again these runaway corporate profits that are out of control, and there seems to be no threshold for this government. They're normalizing it at the same time that those corporations are profiting off the backs of everyday people as they try to pay, as they get hit at the grocery till, as they go hit the pump to fill up their gas or pay their rent or their mortgage, try to make ends meet, even access the internet, their basic needs. And these corporations are just raging out of control with profit, and the government is doing nothing about it. We have the lowest corporate tax rate in the G7. How's that working out for people? Thanks a lot.
Can I just one more question? How big of a factor is people not wanting to go to an election right now?
Well, I think that we know, everybody knows we just came out of a federal election. Nobody wants a federal election. We're hearing that, but at the same time, we're going to go home and listen to what people have to say. We're getting a mixed reaction from people in our communities that, some people that maybe they don't want a federal election, but as they read into this budget or as they start to hear what's truly been presented and, the government is going to cut Indigenous services, for example, that's not reconciliation at a time when Indigenous peoples are struggling like more than ever before. And the gap on infrastructure for Indigenous peoples is massive. So, we're going to go home and listen and consult, and certainly that comes to meeting with the nations. In my riding, I'll be doing that, and certainly meeting with stakeholders and community members and constituents and workers and see how they feel about this budget. So thanks so much.
But today's latest news about
Yes.
the confidence vote, how will you be voting on today's sub-amendment from the Conservatives?
I'll be voting now.
And on the block amendment for tomorrow?
I have to reconsider it, but I think I probably am voting no on amendments, and I'm probably voting no on the budget.
Probably voting no on the budget, and
Yeah.
can you explain why?
Because it contains nothing for the future generations, no climate action. It cuts substantially into programs we need. It eliminates easy things that were popular, like greening homes. It gets rid of the municipal transit fund. It doesn't provide funding on many things that Indigenous people have every right to expect, like friendship centers. It avoids taxing wealth so that we can have enough money to avoid this is a huge deficit they're looking at, while also having austerity. It's a complex mess of disappointments.
So if you had to give it a rating now, or a grade, because it's been a couple of days now and you had time to go through it, what letter grade would you give the budget when it comes to climate?
On climate? F. It is a budget that abandons our future generations. It's an immoral budget. It's a budget that's geared to beat Trump's big, beautiful bill to provide more incentive to large transnationals, and it shovels money hand over fist to billionaires while ignoring the needs of Canadians.
On the day of the budget, you spoke in the chamber, asked if the government would be open to amendments and stuff like that. Have they talked to you about,
Yes.
And have you brought forward any sort of thing you want to see?
We're still talking, and we'll see.
Okay, and then today, the Environment Commissioner came out with some reports.
Yes.
One of them saying some of the financial measures like tax incentives and write-offs haven't actually contributed to reducing emissions.
Right.
And then yet we see in the budget some sort of tax incentives for carbon storage and all that stuff.
Well, carbon capture and storage doesn't work in any event. It hasn't worked in other countries. It's highly geologically specific, and carbon capture and storage is essentially a disguised subsidy to fossil fuel companies. But what we really need is there are a couple lines in the budget that suggest they understand that electrifying Canada with renewable green energy is a good idea. On page 19, which is just the introductory pages, they say that it will be great to have an east-west smart electricity grid to make sure that we can all plug into the same grid. And that's a way of storing renewable energy. We've been calling for it for over a decade. But then, having mentioned it in the introduction, they don't have a specific commitment to doing it. So the budget is like that. Every now and then there's a glimmer of suggesting that they like an idea, but it's not specifically funded. Whereas in the same week in which the Prime Minister said to young people, Canadians will have to sacrifice, quite casually threw $2 billion to a project at Darlington where the primary beneficiaries will be U.S. corporations, so General Electric, Kiewit Engineering, and Hitachi, as well as SNC-Lavalin, now called AtkinsRéalis. Those will be the beneficiaries, private sector, who'll get the money to eventually, potentially build something that doesn't exist now, which is they call it a small modular reactor. But there are none operating commercially. And from the inception of this project at Darlington, it's gone from a $7 billion cost estimate to a $21 billion cost estimate. So first our government gave them, the Canada Infrastructure Bank lent them $1 billion, but now the Carney government has just thrown them $2 billion on top of the fact that it's already listed as a project under the Build Everything Faster Bill C5. So I'm wondering, where's the sacrifice supposed to fall? Where's the restraint supposed to come in on spending when you can throw $2 billion to a project that's never been debated or studied and is very, very likely to fail? And the projects that succeed, like gangbusters in energy efficiency and public transit and building out an electricity grid, those don't have the commitments. And throughout the budget, a lot of them are just cut.
So since you said you're not going to be supporting the budget, are you ready for an election then?
Yes.
So what do you make of a potential party abstaining or maybe supporting the budget like the NDP?
I will not cast judgments on other members of Parliament, the decisions they make for themselves or the decisions they make for themselves. I just know that I have an overdeveloped sense of duty, and having been elected as a member of Parliament, I'm not prepared to duck a vote as important as the budget vote. I certainly hope my vote doesn't create the fall of the government and an immediate election. I would not want that, but if that's what happens, and it's a choice for me on what's best for Canada, and I can't vote for this budget. It's not best for Canada. It's best for a billionaire class that's global, that thinks it can run the world with a technocratic approach. I think if we're going to improve Canadian productivity, that starts by saying we don't export raw product anymore. We don't send out raw lumber. We don't send out unprocessed raw materials, whether it's lumber or bitumen. You process in Canada. That drives up productivity. The idea that productivity improvements, so here I seem to have a very strong disagreement with the current government. Productivity improvements come from improving the relative proportion of your exports that represent value added. Productivity doesn't improve just by providing bigger subsidies to bigger foreign companies.
So what can Carney give you today for you to support the budget?
What I've asked for. And I'll keep that confidential because it's a negotiating position.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supreme Court has decided not to hear the death of the ostrich cases. As Minister of Justice, do you have any thoughts about the case not proceeding to the Supreme Court and whether the ostriches should end their lives?
Look, we obviously are pleased to see the decision of the Supreme Court. It's important that the Minister of Agriculture and CFIA are able to protect the health of the general Canadian public and of the food that we consume in the poultry industry as well. This is a decision that is following the science and evidence, and I'm sure my colleague who has conduct to file will have more to say today. Thanks so much.
Good to see you. Is that the Supreme Court is not going to hear the case? That means, as far as I understand, the ostriches will be terminated.
Yeah.
What do you think? You're a BC MP. And
I'm disappointed in the result, obviously. I think it goes to underscore the structural need for change within the CFIA. And I'm very disappointed in the Liberal ministers and the lack of communication that's coming from them.
Did you ask the minister to call off the cull? She has the authority to do that.
I've had correspondence with the minister, yes.
Did you ask her that, though,
I'm sorry,
specifically?
I've got to get to QP.
Are you head to northern Brazil and do the COP thing, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's an important meeting. Obviously, I'm going there more to work on nature, oceans issue, but as you know, Canada played a leading role at COP15 to help the world agreed to protect 30% of our oceans and lands by 2030. So it's an important meeting to go and meet with some colleagues and stakeholders to see how we can continue advancing this important work, both domestically and internationally.
Is it easy enough to keep this work going, given the sovereignty issues and the new budget and everything else as this government adjusts to keep Canada?
I think, I mean, the Prime Minister deliberately changed the name of the department and my title to include nature because he feels, rightly so, that it's part of our heritage, it's part of our identity. I've been working closely with him as well as Secretary of State Provost on a new nature strategy, which will be coming up soon. I think that you and your colleagues will see that Canada cares deeply about this, and we want to continue our leadership on this very important issue.
Question: is there something that you're really hoping to have happen? You know how the Sherpas get together and they work on something, a deliverable at the end of the COP conference this time. Is there something specific that you're looking forward to finally,
I think the reason, it was a very deliberate reason that the Brazilian government decided to hold a COP there in Belém. It's very close to the Amazon. I think they want to make sure that moving forward, whenever we talk about climate change, we keep in mind that nature is our best ally, and whenever we talk about nature, we also include climate change so that we don't work on these issues on silos. I think if we can achieve that would be pretty amazing.
Are you considering an online regulator for any online?
You asked me that question yesterday,
and
I said that
an online regulator specifically.
Well, you asked me about online harms, and I told you that this is a very active discussion. We will have more to say in the near future.
Okay, but will it be a bill? Because Sean Fraser says it will be certain elements basically spread off across.
More to say soon. Thank you.
Mr. Batiste has been, there's been some election fines leveled on Mr. Batiste for his election. I mean, I'm just asking you because you're the guy next door in Cape Breton. There's only two of you.
There's two.
What do you make of Mr. Batiste and his agent getting?
Honestly, I haven't read the story. I don't know much about it. I know Jaime's a stand-up guy, so other than that, I don't know the guts of the story to make a comment on it.
Is it hard to run an election as a new MP? You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to get a nomination. Are the rules?
It is.
Is it clear? Is it hard? I'm not an accountant. I've never been in such a
Honestly, I can tell you my first time running and my second time running and my third time running. It's one of those things that you have to have a strong team around you to ensure that everything is taken care of. So it's usually helpful to have a lawyer on your team, an accountant on your team, people that maybe have done this before on your team as well. And I know with respect to my team, we're constantly evolving what we need from election to election. And so we have, an accountant and access to a lawyer who's great for us. So yeah, it's important to have folks, because it's easy to miss a deadline, and it's easy sometimes to make a mistake for that matter, and it happens, and you try to not make a mistake, and you try to ensure you have the best people around.
Can I ask you represent parts of Cape Breton, right? Yeah. What's your assessment of how the gun buyback pilot program has gone?
Honestly, I haven't heard much about it in terms of the numbers of guns that have been bought back. I think what it's going to do, it's going to give us a clear depiction of what works, what doesn't work, and I think that it's brought back for some real discussion in terms of the program itself. So I'm interested to see the numbers too, because for me, having that pilot is important to actually deal with facts and deal with the larger program and what might need to be changed or discussed in greater detail.
If the pilot didn't go well, or if it doesn't go well, do you think that they should be open to canceling the program or drastically changing it?
I think one of the things, I come from an academic world and also a community development world, and when we do pilots, the big thing about a pilot is it is a forerunner in terms of what changes you can make and what changes you should make. So I think that's fundamentally one of the bases of a pilot.
Okay, so they should be looking at, if it
I
didn't
think
go
they need
well,
to
that
look-
like drastic changes could be made?
My personal
in
belief
your
is
view,
that
yes?
modifications and nuances and things of that nature that come from a pilot, some things that would surprise you that worked, maybe some things that surprised you that didn't work. So, yeah, I think that's the basis for some very tangible discussions in terms of what that program looks like on a national scale. And I'm interested to see that. And I really don't have any of the numbers, but it should end in about a week or two, I think, if my calculations are right, 6 weeks. So I think in about 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to have some type of, obviously, numbers. And also, what I'm interested too is not just the numbers, like, you know, how many people actually went through the process, but also the qualitative data in terms of what they were hearing when people were bringing up the idea of perhaps purchasing or selling their guns. So I think it's important to listen to people, and I think it's also important to look at the data.
Generally speaking, did you have any specific position on this program and how the government should have proceeded with it?
No, I think that, look, I like the fact, again, going back to my experience in community development, you should have pilot projects before you roll out a national program. And that is smart and important. But I'm like, show me the data and show me the discussions that were happening with people on the ground.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks guys. All right.